Welcome to Commander Tilt. My name is Clark. Just a little bit about my channel to do custom gameplay videos of Commander as well as Rush. Obviously, this is my Rush tournament. Rush is a relatively new format proposed by Mark Rosewater. And the idea behind Rush is a 30-card deck with 10 life, and you draw 5 new cards each turn, and then, you hope to defeat your enemy as quickly as possible. I put together these decks with, they were strictly budget. I didn't spend any money on them. It was just the cheap 1, 2, and 3 drop cards that were already in my collection that I wasn't using in other decks. And now we've moved on to the semifinals. This battle today is Boros versus Jund, and I hope we have a great battle today. Thanks for watching. Let's get into the action. Okay, to start with, I rolled dice to see who goes first. Looks like the Boros deck is going to go first. Boros will put down a mountain and then pass the turn. Jund will put down a mountain and pass the turn. Boros will take its draw. Boros puts down a plains. Now we've got both colors online. We'll tap 2 mana for Savai Thundermane. A 3/2 for 2 mana is pretty good. We'll pass the turn. Jund's going to play Jungle Hollow, tapped, gaining a life. And we'll pass the turn with no 1-drops. Boros will untap and take its draw. Boros is going to put down a mountain. And then we're going to tap 3 mana for Sky Knight Legionnaire. It has haste, will attack with both creatures, hitting for 5 damage. And with that, we'll pass the turn. Jund will untap. Jund's going to play a forest, and then tapping 3 mana, we're going to put down Jund Battle Mage and pass the turn. Boros will untap. Boros takes a draw. We're going to put down a plains as our land for turn. We're going to tap 2 mana for Ceradon Yearling, which also has haste. Moving to combat, we're going to swing with all 3 creatures. Jund will choose to block the Savai Thundermane with the Jund Battle Mage. The 2 creatures trade, and then we still do 4 damage. Next, Boros will tap the mana for Boros Recruit and pass the turn. Jund will untap. Jund's going to put down a swamp. Then we're going to tap 2 mana for Jund Hackblade and pass the turn. Boros will untap. Boros will tap 3 mana for Sky Knight Legionnaire. We'll put down our land for turn. It's a Wind-Scarred Crag, gaining a life. Moving to combat, pretty confident we have lethal with this many creatures, including 2 flyers, but Jund doesn't want to give up the battle quite yet. We're going to spend 2 mana on Collision, doing 6 damage to one of the flyers, and then the Jund Hackblade is going to block the Ceradon Yearling, so the 2 creatures trade, but 3 damage still gets through, and Boros wins the first round. Second round, Jund will go first. We play Jungle Hollow, gaining a life, and we'll pass the turn. Boros will play a white and then tap it for Boros Recruit and pass the turn. Jund will take its draw. We'll put down a swamp, and we'll pass with nothing to play. Boros misses its land drop, so we'll move to combat and swing with the Boros Recruit, doing 1 damage and pass the turn. Jund will play a Coombe Refuge, gaining a life, and still nothing to play past the turn. Boros will finally get its second land, playing a mountain. Moving to combat, will swing for 1 damage and pass the turn. Jund is going to play Rugged Highlands, gaining a life, and then we'll tap 3 mana for Sprouting Thrynax. And with that, we'll pass the turn. Boros is going to tap 3 mana for Legion Guildmage, and then the remaining mana goes for a second Boros Recruit. We'll pass the turn with no good attacks. Jund will untap. Jund's going to play a Jungle Hollow tapped, gaining a life. Next, Jund is going to tap 2 mana for Jund Hackblade. It gets a +1/+1 counter and haste. Moving to combat, we're going to swing with both creatures. Boros will put the 2 first strikers in front of the Jund Hackblade, but Jund is going to cast Colossus, giving that creature +4/+2. So now the trample damage pushes through, as well as the Sprouting Thrynax, dropping Boros to 3 life. Jund will pass the turn. Boros will untap and then take its draw. Boros will put down a mountain and then play Relentless Raptor. And with that, we'll pass the turn. Didn't want to attack because we need defense here. Jund will untap and put down a mountain as our land for turn. Then moving to combat, we'll swing with both creatures. Boros will choose to block the Dinosaur on the Sprouting Thrynax and the Legion Guildmage on the 3/2 Hackblade. All the creatures trade, but then the Sprouting Thrynax produces 3 Saprolings. Now, Jund will tap 3 mana for Scarland Thrynax. And then we're going to tap a single mana for a Slitherhead. And then we're going to tap another single mana for a Sedge Scorpion. So a huge swing in board state right there. Jund will pass the turn with an army. Boros will untap. Boros will tap 2 mana for a Boros Guildmage, and that is all we can do. We'll pass the turn. Jund, with its giant army, will untap. We'll put down a forest as our land for turn. We'll tap a single dead mana for Deadweight, which effectively kills the Boros Guildmage, and then moving to combat, we will swing with every creature, which does lethal to Boros, and Jund wins the second round. It's now tied 1-1. On the third round, I roll to see who goes first, and Jund wins the third roll. So Jund will put down a forest and then pass the turn. Boros will put down a mountain and pass the turn. Jund will tap the forest and put down a Slitherhead, but having no mana to play, we pass the turn, missing our land drop. Boros will put down a Plains and then a Ceradon Yearling. Moving to combat, we'll swing with this creature. The Slitherhead will block and die. The Ceradon Yearling has Vigilance, so it shouldn't be tapped, but it's not a big deal. Jund untaps. Jund's going to put down a Jungle Hollow tapped, gaining a life, and we'll pass the turn. Boros will untap and take a draw. Boros will put down a Plains. And then Boros is going to tap 3 mana for Iroa's Champion. Moving to combat, we'll swing the Ceradon Yearling for 2 damage and pass the turn. Jund will tap 2 mana. Oh no, I'm sorry, 1 mana for Sedge Scorpion. Next, we're going to tap another mana for Deadweight, putting it on Iroa's Champion. It kills it. We play a land. Our Rugged Highland gains us 1 life, and we'll pass the turn. Boros will untap. Boros is going to put down a Windscarred Crag, gaining 1 life. And moving to combat, we'll swing with the Ceradon Yearling. We'll block with the Death Toucher, and so the creatures trade. But then Boros will tap the mana for a Boros Recruit and a Savai Thundermane. And then Boros will pass the turn. Jund's going to untap and put down a Mountain. And then we're going to tap 2 mana for Clan Guildmage. And next we're going to tap the other 2 mana that we have for Jund Hackblade, which gains +1/+1. Next, we're going to scavenge the Slitherhead, giving the Jund Hackblade another +1/+1 and swing with the 4/3. Boros will choose not to block and take the 4 damage. Jund will pass the turn. Boros will untap. Boros will put down a Plains. Next, Boros is going to tap 3 mana for Sky Knight Legionnaire. A 2/2 with flying and haste is pretty good. We'll go ahead and swing with our flyer. And then, because it can't be blocked, we'll play Martial Glory, turning it into a 5/5 flyer. We do 5 damage to Jund, and we'll pass the turn. Jund will untap. Jund's going to pay the mana for Scarland Thrynax. And then we'll put our land for turn down. It's a Bloodfell Caves, which gains us a life. Moving to combat, we'll swing with that Jund Hackblade again, and this time, Savai Lion blocks, but then, in response, we'll sacrifice the Jund Hackblade to the Skarlan Thrynax, gaining a +1/+1 counter on the Skarlan Thrynax. Savai Lion dies in the exchange anyway, and we'll pass the turn. Boros will put down a Plains. Boros will put down a Sky Knight Legionnaire, and then move into combat. We'll swing with both flyers, dealing 4 damage. And then we'll pass the turn. Oh no, we're not going to pass the turn. We're going to tap the mana for a Boros Recruit and a Relentless Raptor. Then we pass the turn. Jund will untap. Jund's going to tap the mana for Jund Hackblade. It also gets a +1/+1 counter. And then we're going to tap the mana for Gruul Spellbreaker. Moving to combat, I think we're going to lose this one no matter what. Let's just attack with everything and see what happens. Boros will put one of the Boros Goblins in front of one of the creatures, the Relentless Raptor in front of one, and the other Goblin in front of another creature, so only the Clan Guild Mage gets through for 2 damage. Almost all of Boros' creatures die, but only one of Jund's does. But we still have those 2 flyers, so Boros is in good shape. Boros is going to untap. We're going to tap the mana for War Flare. All our creatures get +2/+1. Then, moving to combat, we'll swing with both of our 4/3s and do lethal to Jund. And with that, Boros takes the victory. Boros has won 2-1, and Boros is the winner of this semifinal game. There you have it. Boros wins and moves on to the next round. I've got 2 of these rounds completed, and then I have to do 2 more, and then we'll be moving on to the finals. I really appreciate you watching. You have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. I do have a Patreon page, and I would love it if you would visit my page and take a look at the rewards that are available. It would help me out a lot. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you hear about my latest videos. Have a great day.